Good morning. Okay. I feel like we've got some new faces here, which is great. Some people that were actually at the Triad event kind of saw a version of this. And so I tried to change it up a little bit so that we can really kind of get our juices flowing and understand why our why matters. And so I am Allison Greco, and I don't know why there's a line through the your why matters, but we're just going to roll with it because we don't want to have analysis paralysis here. So good morning. I appreciate everybody being here. Again, as I said, let me figure out how to make this go to the next slide. There we go. I am Allison Greco. A little bit about me. I am the team leader of the Greco Group in Beaufort, South Carolina. In 2023, we closed
Cricket works for Chris.
Can you mute Anna?
So sorry.
In 2023, we closed 242 transactions for 114 million in sales volume. And who I am a realtor, I am a wife, I am a sister, I am a daughter. And when I have done this presentation before, and when I've done presentations in the past, and I've been asked to say, introduce yourself, right? I never feel good about saying those things. I never feel good about saying, well, I'm a team leader and this is how much money we've made, or this is what we've done and how many houses we've sold, right? And so I like to get the juices flowing super early in the morning. And so I'd really want to encourage everybody to take a moment to think about who you are and don't use titles to do this. So beyond the titles that we carry and the roles that we fulfill, it really lies the essence of who we truly are as people and human beings. And so I really encourage you to think about this and peel the layers away of your occupation and your societal roles, and just think about who you are to the core of yourself without giving yourself titles. So if we want to just take a minute to do that, maybe text it to yourself or write it down. Okay, does anybody want to share anything that they came up with?
I'm fun.
Oh, good, Ashley, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kristen, I'm going to pick on you. Do you got anything?
I knew you were going to. I am gracious towards others.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I won't pick on anybody else, but does anybody else want to share? So this is a little harder on Zoom because, we're not seeing each other's facial expressions and sitting in the room and kind of feeling that energy. But when I've done this before, it's a really interesting interaction because people get stressed, right? I think that I only gave you 30 seconds really to kind of keep this going, but people really start to think about this and they think, oh my gosh, we're so tied to our titles. We're so tied to, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a, all of these things, or I'm a realtor. When we're in social environments, well, what do you do? Well, I don't want to know what you do. I want to know who you are, right? I want to know what really drives you. And so that's kind of what this is going to be about today. So kind of a little bit about who I am. I am a thinker, I'm a giver, I'm an animal advocate, a designer, a helper, a doer, and I am a 10. So we all know that. I just like to just throw it out there, but I'm a dream weaver. I'm an uplifter and a visionary thinker. And so I really, really want you guys to put a pin in this. And when you leave this Zoom today, give yourself 10 minutes to just sit in a quiet spot and write a list of all of the things that you are. And don't use the standard titles to do that. I think that you'll come a long way and you'll be able to look at that list and remind yourself, every day kind of like who we are, and it will start to evolve. So give yourself the permission to think about yourself a little bit. So I always throw this slide in here because when we start talking about who we are, this was a really kind of impactful moment for me when I first did the Working Genius. There is a QR code there. If you have not done Working Genius with Anna, I would encourage you to scan this. Anna is going to type her email address in this chat box here, and we will follow up with everybody that is on today as well. But 6 Types of Working Genius is really impactful because it tells you where you thrive in your genius and then what kind of your frustrations are. So my genius is I'm an ideator. I love coming up with ideas. I'm a thinker, right? So if you go back to that slide that says what I am, a lot of it is creative and thinking. And my biggest frustration is tenacity. I can get something to the 95-yard line and I'm done. I don't need the satisfaction of putting the pin in it and being done with it, right? And so again, a lot of the way I work is understanding who we are at a high level, because I think it gives us the ability to have happier lives. It gives us the ability to really understand ourselves and permission to say, this is just not my genius and I don't work there. So I think that all of this really ties together and puts a pretty bow on it when you get to sit down and do the 6 type of working genius and understand who you are at a high level. So that is a class that we've got. And if you haven't been able to take it, contact Anna as well. Okay, so understanding your why. This helps you focus on the relationship between mindset and business planning. I like to tie this back to a topic of business, right? Because we are all, in this and running businesses and we need to make money. And so I think the biggest thing that I try to help people understand is if you're so clear in your journey and your why and what you want your life to look like, then you find that fuel that naturally comes to wake up in the morning, put your shoes on and go to work, right? So this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart, because I do believe that understanding our personal dreams, it holds the key to unlocking kind of that grit factor that pushes people to the next level. So your why isn't just a whimsical fantasy. It's a driving force that compels you to wake up every morning eager to tackle the day's challenges, because we recognize the incredible power of knowing exactly what our dreams can reveal about our inner self. So we're going to talk a little bit about writing down your why. So this is a little bit more of an interactive Zoom. And so, my why is that I realized, about 5 years ago, my father-in-law died very unexpectedly. And I'm 35 years old, and it was kind of a big thing, a big life-changing moment for my husband and I. And it made me realize that, my dad is 71 years old. Like he could, any of us aren't promised tomorrow. And so it made me think, well, I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm doing all of these things. And why? What am I doing it for? And so I really took a moment to start dreaming big. I took a moment to really figure out, what do I want my days to look like? What do I want my weeks and my years to look like? And so a big thing for me is being able to spend the next 10 years with my parents, traveling with them. My husband and I were lucky enough to take my mom and dad to Africa, for Eastern Africa on safari. A big thing for us is we are wildlife rehabbers, and we want to be able to open an elephant orphanage in 20 years. That's our big goal and our big dream. But for the next 10 years, I realized that this is that moment that I get with my parents while they're healthy and vibrant, and I get to spend that time with them. And I need money to do that, right? I have to be able to pay for these trips, and I have to be able to have money in my bank account so that we can go out to dinners and spend time with one another. And I don't have the stress of not being able to pay bills. And so it all comes back together to understand, what life am I trying to create? And frankly, how much money do I need to do that? This is a limitless industry, right? We could all work 80 hours a week and really kill ourselves and make great money. But what's happening on the back end, right? I've talked about sometimes being so far in the weeds on it that you can't see the forest through the trees. And a goal of this training is really to kind of pull ourselves out of that and dream a little bit. Because I think once we start dreaming and we really put it on the calendar and we plan and we make that roadmap for where we want to go, then it gets a little clearer. We really can start understanding ourselves and our why, and we get grounded enough to be able to say, these are the things that I want to do this year and next year, and what is my 5-year plan. We've done business planning, which is another section that kind of will roll into this. And if anybody ever needs to understand like their 5-year plan, or they want to sit down and do business planning with me, feel free to reach out. Anna will put my contact information in the chat box as well. I'm happy to do a one-on-one session with anybody that wants to understand what that looks like. But my why is my family. It's being able to see my niece Candler grow up and spend time with my sister and my brother-in-law, my mom and dad, and my family is just deeply important to me. So that's my why. And I want to go through this exercise because, again, I'm using these things that were very profound and what changed my trajectory, understanding kind of why this is so important. And so the average life expectancy, I just Googled this 20 minutes ago, so it's up to date. It was actually 77.5 years. Now I didn't go through the US, I went like worldwide. So I want to do a little experiment. If you take 77 years and you minus your age, so do that math. And if you're driving, do the math in your head. And then whatever that number was, I want you to times it by 365 days. All right, does anyone want to share their number?
17,520.
Katie, I think you were going to unmute. Were you unmuting?
Sorry, I'm on my phone with you guys this morning. So mine is 16,060.
Okay, good. Okay, so mine is 15,533. That's how many days left I have statistically on Earth. Right? So if you look at this and you do this math, I didn't do this slide because I don't want to be, sobbing on a Zoom this morning, but if I did this math for my dad and he's 71, that calculation is going to be a lot different, right? And then for people that maybe see their parents, 3 times a year, and, let's say the math was 6 years and you see your parents 3 times a year and we statistically have 6 years left, that math is really stressful for me, right? I mean, it might not be for others if that's not their why, but for me, that's what I focus on. And so I look at how many summers do I have left? How many trips to the beach do I have left? How many times do we get to go celebrate Christmas together, right? And so when I start focusing on just the understanding that time is limited, how do we leverage that time to make our lives, what we want them to be? I don't want to turn around in 20 years and say, gosh, I wish I would have. So I think that understanding that we do have limited time. I've done this exercise with people on my team that have got small children, and we did this exercise to say, well, how many more summers do you have before they graduate high school? How many summers do you have before we statistically think that they're going to get married and then they're going to have grandchildren? I mean, it really makes you say, okay, I need to stop and look at this calendar and I need to figure out exactly what we're going to do this summer and how much time we're going to spend together. If that's the why, if that's what your plan is and what you want to do with your life, right? So that rolls into this slide, which is if you aren't making money while you aren't working, you have a job, not a business. We moved our company over from Keller Williams. We loved Keller Williams. It was a wonderful company for us. It was a wonderful platform for me to start my business. And I was easily convinced of the model to EXP because that goes into this topic, right? That I'm making money when I'm not working. When I'm sleeping, I'm making money. I have a leveraged source of income through my downline, through my organization, right? We have rentals that we have that are their mailbox money, right? For very little effort, we get money coming in every month. And a topic on the real estate side of this is I know there's a big trend in starting teams and joining teams. We can do a leverage series on this. I won't have enough time this morning to go into what all that looks like, but I am going to do a quick breakdown on what leverage looks like and how you can leverage your life through people. I've got an agent on my team that took this class, and within a week he hired an admin, and he's now starting a Airbnb rental management business through that, because that is time that he doesn't have to put in. That is going to create income for himself, right? So that he doesn't just have a job, he's running a business. For agents that are solo agents that are thinking to themselves, well, I don't want to start a team. It's not necessarily starting a team, but you have to add leverage to your life, because I guarantee you, if you sat down and thought about all of the dreams, big dreams that you wanted to achieve, you need time to do that. But you also need the money that you're working so hard to make to be able to fund those dreams, right? So you have to figure out a way that your dreams and your business kind of coincide with one another, and they work to leverage your life so that you can achieve both. So I'm going to encourage everybody to take a moment to dream big. Nothing is off limits. I want you to just take a deep breath, think about this, and write down dreams that you have for yourself and your family. The connection between our dreams and our mindset and our strategic business planning, I believe that, understanding this correlation, we can not only elevate our individual success, but we can also contribute it to a greater purpose. So I'm going to say, do not give yourself an out on this. Think really, really, really big. So if you guys want to just take a minute to think about some dreams, it could be dreams this week, next year, 20 years, whatever it is. Okay, guys, I see some people still writing. So the end of this slide says that you can either decrease your goal or you can increase your input. That's your choice. And so does anybody kind of want to maybe share a goal that they have and kind of what they feel about that last statement, that you can either decrease your goal or you can increase your input? Ashley, what you got?
I knew you were going to ask me. I wonder how many things I should say. I don't know. I think kind of what you said, one of the biggest drivers for me is my parents, and just trying to figure out, like, if I say, hey, I built you a house, get your butt down here, like, there's no objection anymore. So I think, spending time with them and going on trips with them, or being intentional about time with them, or trying to get them down here half the year, would be like a big goal of mine. I think we're going to try to take my son to Italy this year for a couple weeks while he's tracked out, because his grandparents have a house there and they really want to show all their friends my amazing child. So that's a short-term one, which we definitely can do. But I think the biggest one is spending more time with my parents, because they are in Michigan, and figuring out a way to get rid of their objections. Like, you don't have an excuse anymore. Come down here and spend time with me.
What do you think would have to happen, like, today for you to figure out what Italy this summer looks like?
I mean, really, it's just, it's just getting flights, because we don't have a place to stay, and we would have all the things. So it's just planning out like looking at his schedule and actually, like, figuring out when we can take the flight.
So just as, like, your minor accountability partner here, right? I'll ask this question.
Yes.
What would have to happen today for you to do that?
Sitting down to do it. I don't know. I mean, or making Carlo do it. That's what would have to happen today. Because I'm like, I got to refinance my car. I'm potentially starting that project. I'm like, that's where I go. It's like, I'm so overwhelmed by everything that it's kind of that leverage. I've just got to go, you take it and just do it, because I can't do it.
You answered the question, right? I'm so overwhelmed with all the other things. I have to refinance my car. You're so far into your life, right, that you can't see the forest through the trees. You're not figuring out the path. And so I think the other question would be, how would you feel if today, at the end of the day, over supper, you were sitting down eating and you said, hey, this is when we're leaving, the trip's booked, this is our game plan?
Probably relief that it's just not sitting out there anymore.
I think that sometimes we have these dreams and then summer comes and goes and then it doesn't happen. And then you turn around and you're like, oh, it's too late, or the flights are so expensive now. Or I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy, because we know what we want to do. It's in here. We just don't put it into the world enough, right? We just don't verbalize it loud enough so that it actually comes to fruition and it comes true. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I overthink things over and over and over again, like this renovation that I asked you about, which he just lowered the price on a little bit more. And I still am like, do I do it? Do I not? You know, it's that push and pull of like, I'm responsible for it. Will it be better and change like the way we live? Yeah, it will. Will it have that big of an impact? I don't know. So then I sit here and can't make a decision, just like the trip. You know, it's like, it would be great. We could go next year. It's not a big deal, but I'm very like indecisive. So that's my problem.
So, are his grandparents they're still alive, right? They're there in Italy.
Yeah, both of them. They live in Michigan. They have a house in Italy. So they go usually for the summer, 3-4 months.
So like, I know this is being recorded, so sorry if grandparents are watching this, but you just made the comment, well, we could just go next year.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if something happened and then all of a sudden there is no next year?
Yeah, I know, it's true.
I think that like a lot of our dreams, again, they're in our head and we believe that it's a thing and we don't act on it because we give ourselves all of these permissions and excuses to just not do
Mhm.
it. So it's like there really is no time better than now to just figure out a way to do it. And so you can either decrease your goal or increase your input, right? And so a lot of it just has to do with money. So it's not a financial thing that's stopping you. It's just that you're bogged down. And so the question is, and we've talked about this a lot, what do you have to do to leverage your time off so that you can feel relieved enough to either you can do this or get somebody else to do it for you, you know? Because
Yeah.
there's always a roadblock and you just have to figure out how to get over that roadblock. So
Yeah, and I think I have to let go of control because of what you're going to, and that's part of the problem is I don't let people do it, and then I won't do it because I'm a procrastinator, and then it will just sit there and it will not get done because I feel like I have to do it, which is the leverage point that you're talking about, which that's why I sent this to everybody. I'm like, this was so good because looking at like your dollar per hour, which I'm sure you're going to talk about, and connecting the goal to the why, like that was big for me. So I'm working through it. I'm working on it.
Yep, I know. And I'm getting through the slides. So connecting every goal to a why. Achieving goals become easier when they are meaningful and connected to a reason and a purpose. Your why. When you connect your goal to your why, a few things happen. You become hyper-focused on the goal and it eliminates distractions, right? And other tasks that are not in alignment with your desired outcome. Your vision and ideas become easier to outline, understand, and communicate because you're intentionally focusing on the reason that you want to do something and how it will impact you. We're talking about a small thing, right? We're talking about something like, we just want to go this summer to Italy. We've got it all planned out. I just have to book the flights. But what if the goal is a 20-year goal like mine, that it's, I want to own an elephant orphanage? Well, I have to think about this at like, okay, in 20 years, if I live in Africa and I own an elephant orphanage and I'm rescuing elephants, I'm not going to be selling real estate, but I'm going to need a lot of money to buy this elephant orphanage and to live in Africa and to do these things. So I have to figure out a way to get my company rolling to a point that I've got money coming in while I'm sleeping so that I can go and fulfill my bigger purpose and my bigger why. So if my why is spending time with my family now, right, while I've got that time, and I want to save animals, but I need enough money to be able to have this elephant orphanage and sanctuary, don't these two conflict one another? I have to work really, really hard now, make all of this money so that I can figure out a way to go and achieve this goal. And so the answer is, in your business, is always people. You need leverage. And so that could either be starting a team. It could also be getting on a team. It could be, if you're a solo agent, finding an admin or something to really start understanding the leverage. But people cost money and teams have crazy high splits, so I'll just do it on my own. That's what most people say. And I think that that's why most agents hit a ceiling and they just never move past that ceiling. And what you don't realize is if you're a solo agent and you are doing this on your own, all you're doing is you're just showing up to your job every day. Because the second that you break a leg or you get diagnosed with cancer or something catastrophic happens or you go on vacation, you're no longer making money. So I always love throwing this slide in here. I saw this at a conference, and so sorry for anybody that's already seen it, but this is Twyla Tharp, and she says, I begin each day of my life with a ritual. She writes, I wake up at 5:30 a.m., I put on my clothes, my leg warmers and my sweatshirt and my hat. I walk outside my Manhattan home, hail a cab, and tell the driver to take me to the Pumping Iron Gym at 91st Street and First Avenue, where I work out for 2 hours. The ritual is not stretching and weight training I put my body through each morning at the gym. The ritual is the cab. The moment I tell the driver where I go, I have completed the ritual. It's a simple act, and by doing it the same way each morning, it habitualizes it. It makes it repeatable and easy to do. It reduces the chances that I would skip it or do it differently. It's one more tool in my arsenal of routines and one less thing to think about. So the reason I put this slide in here is because I think we get very caught up in the frenzy of everything and feeling so overwhelmed with life, like Ashley was talking about. She's just got too much going on and she can't do this one thing. That means a lot to her. She wrote it down. It was a goal of hers, right? But she can't make herself do it. She can't figure out why she can't take the next steps to move the needle. And it's because we're not leveraging ourselves. We're not leveraging our time. We're not being smart about the way we're running our businesses. And so Twyla Tharp's one thing is that she wants to work out. It's good for her mindset. It's good for her body. She has to do something that habitualizes it. And so our thoughts, the things that we think about, become our choices. Our choices become our actions become our habits, and our habits become our rituals and routines, and our cells eavesdrop on our thoughts. And so the purpose of this is to say that if we believe it to be true, it will be true, right? If we so honestly believe in our why and what we want to achieve, everything else will fall into place because we will do the things that need to be done to move the needle to get there. The one slide that Ashley was talking about, and I know she wanted me to get into our 30 minutes, is our dollar per hour breakdown. This goes into understanding, you know, if the why is that you want to have leverage, you want to have time with your children, you have time with your parents, then you've got to figure out a way to start leveraging things off. This is the breakdown on basically starting a real estate team, but this is really the concept of leveraging your time. And I'll go through this really quickly. If anybody needs to understand this at a higher level, again, please just reach out. But splits are a meaningless conversation, and it's really about dollar per hour conversations when you're talking to team members, starting a team, or thinking of getting on a team, okay? So if we assume that an average commission is $10,000, we expect about 50 hours per transaction. So you've got the 10 hours belly to belly with the client, 20 hours of transaction management, and 20 hours of administrative. So out of that $10,000 commission, we're working 50 hours and we're going to make $200 an hour. The first natural step is that you hire an admin. This typically saves you about 20 hours. And typically the admin's about $20 an hour. So that's going to cost you $400 a transaction. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that $10,000. We're going to pay our transaction coordinator, our administrative assistant $400. So that leaves us with $9,600. And we've only worked 30 hours out of that transaction. So now all of a sudden we went from a $200 an hour payment to $320 an hour. So by leveraging that off, we actually gave ourselves $120 an hour increase.
Hello.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that's, I can't mute her. Okay, so then the next level is a transaction coordinator. So the admin is your administrative stuff. And what I tell people a lot on this is start by writing down 5 things that you do on a daily basis that just aren't really making you money, right? Like they might help the whole picture of real estate, like sending your thank you notes to your clients and doing your newsletters and those kind of things. But they're really not the 5 things that make you money, which is lead gen, lead follow-up, setting appointments, negotiating contracts, and role play, and practicing scripts, right? So the next level is you're going to hire a transaction coordinator. Same thing, you've got 20 hours in your transaction with this transaction coordinator. You're going to pay her $20 an hour. So now we're paying $800 an hour total out. So we are making $9,200 for this transaction instead of $10,000, but we're only working 10 hours on the transaction, the belly to belly sales. We went from $200 an hour originally to $920 an hour. That's a big jump, and that shows you the power of leverage and leveraging your time. So if you're looking at this from a buyer's agent standpoint, or you're looking at this from a starting a team standpoint, this is really what the breakdown is at level 4, where that 50 hours is now no longer your 50 hours. What you're doing is that you're going to split that 50-50 with the buyer's agent. That's typical. I don't know what other people's splits are, things like that. There's usually variances there, but let's just, for the ease of it, call it 50-50. So that means that this transaction is going to cost me $5,800. I'm going to pay $800 to the admin to run the transaction. I'm going to pay $5,000 to the agent who's running the deal. Okay. So that means that I am making in about an hour's worth of work, because I might have to take the lead. I might have to follow up with the management and the CRM. I might have to do a consultation of some sort, but for 1 hour, I'm making $4,200. So I went from $200 an hour to $4,200 an hour. That's leverage, right? And for a buyer's agent, the buyer's agent is going to come in having to source the lead, follow up with the lead, do the transactions, do all of these things, and spend 50 hours doing that. But when buyer's agents come onto teams, they're automatically coming in and they have the lead being given to them. They've got the transaction management, and all they have to do is the 10-hour belly to belly sales, right? So that agent is going to make $5,000 on the transaction, working 10 hours. And they automatically go from a $200 hourly rate to a $500 hourly rate. So it just shows you the power of leverage through people. And the whole premise of this is that we can achieve all the things we want to achieve, but we don't have a way to make more time in our day. And most of us want to spend time with our family and our friends, and we want to do things and be creative. But if we're working 80 hours a week, it's going to be very hard and very difficult to achieve that. And so I want you to just remember, who are you, right? Write that list down. What are the big dreams that you want to accomplish? And start to find the trend in that to understand, like, what does your day and your week and your year look like? And what do you want that to look like? And the holes and the gaps that are going to come in are going to be people. You need people to help you fill in the task that either you're really not that great at or don't bring you joy because they're probably not your working genius. And find the people that you can bring into your world and leverage, or find somebody's world that you can get in that helps offer you leverage. This will then kind of run into the business planning, which we don't have time for. This is the copy of the business planning sheet that we've done. This is on YouTube. So please feel free to scan that. There's 50 more slides after this that we could go through, but we won't today. But I do kind of want to leave you with, practice patience while taking consistent action. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and greatly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5. And I find that most people give up too soon. They expect results faster and they put a lot of work in, and then they give up just a hair too soon. And right on the other side of that mountain is exactly what they're looking for. And then the last thing I'll leave you guys with is that I truly believe that we rise by lifting others. So that's what I got for you guys this morning. I'd love to hear kind of just y'all's thoughts and concepts and how you feel about writing your goals down and your why and all of that good stuff. I know a lot of us aren't camera on today, but we've got quite a few participants.
I personally really liked it because we did this as a team probably about, I mean, at this point, like a year and a half ago, where we wrote down all of our goals, and I honestly haven't done it since. And when I took my piece of paper, I was like, wait, what's amazing about this is my normal goals that I always wrote down of getting a new home and getting a new car that I haven't replaced in forever, I did those things. And so that was really, really cool to be able to be like, wait, I now have to brainstorm new goals. So that was kind of an aha for me. And I don't know, I really liked it because I haven't really reflected and been like, wow, I hit those and now I can write down new goals and they can actually come to fruition. So yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody else?
Well, I like what Kristen just said. Now I'm in a dark room. So we have a coach here right now and he, is really great. Like we talked to him for 30 minutes and he's like, well, what do you want to be your goal? Do you want to coach? Do you want to help other agents or do you want to, grow your real estate business? And I said, well, things just keep coming. And I feel like I can't do the other section of it. It's like, when you're in the weeds with buyers and sellers, sometimes it's like, it takes time away from the other part. And so he said, just like what Allison said, so it's confirming what you said, which I know I need to do. You've got to get clear on what you're making. You've got to get clear on your numbers. He goes, it's not for you to sit there and count what you're going to make. It's because you need to know, like, can you take 2 to 3 months off of like selling to focus on building your team and building other people and doing the conferences? Like, you've got to know the numbers so that, like, this is my expense every month. And then this is what I feel comfortable living on if I want to go full steam into something else. And, it's that same decision making. It's just, you've got to slow down to speed up. And I don't do that. I live in that kind of gray area where I can kind of get away with things. And so for me, it's really focusing on the numbers to find out how much, like you said, is it going to take the trip to Italy, or what is it going to be to, if we want to build a new construction that we could midterm, like on my sister's property while my parents aren't here, like, what does that look like? Because you've got to sit down and do it. So I need Allison to be my accountability person because she'll whip me into shape and she's scary.
I am scary, which I think is hilarious because I think I'm a teddy bear. Like I look at Kristen. Kristen's like, Allison is not scary. Does anybody else want to share? If not, I totally understand. It's definitely a vulnerable conversation, especially if you're not used to talking about it. And I really, really encourage talking about it. Like, I remember 2 years ago when I said out loud that I was going to take my mom and dad to Africa for their 40th wedding anniversary. And it's a very expensive trip. I mean, like, I had to plan and prepare and save money, and it was a big deal. And I remember having it in my head and like hinting and saying little things. And I was at a team event at my house. I think it was like a Halloween party or something. And I was like, yep, I'm taking my mom and dad to Africa for their 40th wedding anniversary. My mom was there. And that was it. Once I said it out loud, I was like, I have to do this. I have to put this into the universe and actually do it. And nothing about me misses that money. Nothing about me is regretful of that. It was an amazing experience. And, but I did have to almost like commit it to the universe, right? I had to say, I'm doing this because I felt pressures, even though nobody was pressuring me. It was something that was kind of that mode that I knew if I said it out loud, I would make myself do it. So I really think that we just have to dream and think and give ourselves the chance to figure out what those new goals are. Okay, that's all I've got up my sleeve for today. If we don't have any other questions, we will make sure that this is recorded. We have got some really great people coming in for the month of February as well. Today is the last day of the month, which is great because we actually in December did a business planning. So I would really encourage you guys to look at these goal sheets right here. If your goal was 100K and you broke it down and you were supposed to do 6 million in volume, I can't use the cursor. Then the question is did you do it? Where are you on your goal tracker? Are you hitting your goals? Are you hitting your buyer and seller percentages? How many units did you sell? So all of those things need to line up so that you can make sure that you're hitting your goals. I'm sorry, it was $6,666. But are you hitting your goals and are you on track? Because if you're not on track now, we need to sit down and figure out what we're going to do to make sure that you at least hit the 20,000 goal for quarter1 if your goal was 100K. If you don't understand this or you didn't take that class, this is on YouTube. This sheet is available to everybody if you want to take a scan it and make a copy of it for yourselves. But if you don't use this, that's fine. Just use something to track. We are all about creating businesses for ourselves, not jobs. And then CTE is another great tool that we're using. Solo agents, this works really well for solo agents as well. But CTE is a business tracking tool. So there's another scan there if you want to scan that. And look into this. I think it's like $30 a month or $39 a month, and it has been a game changer for our business. All right, guys, I am going to our team meeting. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And my information is attached, so you guys can call me anytime for anything.